Hello guys, Alan here and welcome back to the channel. And this video is going to be our final part in our template creation series inside of Revit. So we are going to wrap up with everything that we have to do in our final part in this video. Alright, so without wasting much time, I'm going to get started. But before I get started, if you're watching this video and you haven't liked or subscribed to my channel, please do make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, because you do not want to miss out on the kind of tutorials that I'll be dropping here on YouTube. So please do make sure you subscribe to my channel, like this video, and if you have anything that you want to add to whatever we are going to do in this tutorial, you can drop it in the comment section and I'll do what to respond to each and every one of you guys out there. All right, so I'm going to get started in this final part, and in this final part is just pretty much going to be us loading up stuff and setting up stuff inside of our template. All right, so we are going to talk about how we can actually do some one or two stuffs in there, and then we can now save this as a template. And after saving this as a template, we would want it to appear on our open file dialog page. All right, so I'm going to show you guys how you can actually do that and how you can achieve that in there. So this is our final part, and first of all, we are going to talk about the components, the families that you're going to have inside of your template. All right, inside of your default metric template. So if you should head straight into the components tab right here, just click on the button right there. You notice we have in here place a component and we have model in a component, and of course we are not going to model in a component, we want to load in some more components in there. So if I should click on that, you're going to notice Revit just has a little bit of components in there for you. Funny enough, we don't even have a bed in there. We don't have a bed in there, nor even a plumbing fixture. We just have this support. We don't even have a plumbing fixture in there. All right, so these are just the components Revit is going to give you in there by default, and it's going to be very good if you load in some components inside of your project template. All right, so let's say, if, like I said earlier on in the beginning, this is a residential template which I'm creating for residential building. So there are some certain families that I'm definitely going to need inside of this template. All right, even when it comes to doors, windows, columns, and all of those stuff in there, there are going to be some families that I cannot go away with. All right, so you would like to load in some stuff inside of your template. So if you're a plumber, you would love to load in some fittings, you would love to load in some pipes, you would love to load in some plumbing fixtures as well in there. All right, so we can talk about that, and how we can actually load in some stuff is you can go straight away, you can go into the insert tab in there, and then you can click on load family in there. And when you click on that load family, I would want to go a few folders back, since I'm in the English Imperial system, which I'm not using the English Imperial, I'm using the English metric. So I'd like to go a few folders back by clicking on that icon in there, and then head into English, and then we have all of this in there. So I can get into plumbing in there, and with this we have the architectural and the MEP. All right, so with the architectural one, you're not going to have the connectors in there, but with the MEP one, you're going to have the ones that have the connectors. So if you are designing this, if you are creating this template for, let's say, a plumbing template, if you're creating a plumbing template, you definitely want to go into the MEP one, and then you love to load in those fixtures in there. So you can go in here, you notice in here we have some equipment in there, we have this water heater in there, and when you head into fixtures, we have a couple bit of fixtures in there that you can load into. I tend to load in some stuff. I'm going to change this to thumbnail and see what I have in there. All right, so with a sink, I have this type of sinks in there which you can actually load in. I'm going to do with let me first of all start with the drains. Is also very, very important if you are designing that plumbing template in there. And with the sinks, we have shower in there, sinks, water closets. So let me deal with the water closets. So I'm going to load in just one water closet in there, so you guys can see what I'm talking about. All right, so I'm going to load in this, and you can also load in a bidet if you want, and I'm just going to load in this WC inside of my template in there. And if I should head straight into architecture, click on component, you notice we have that WC in there. So if I should just click in there and leave that in there, you're going to notice when I click on that, you're going to notice we have this connector in there. All right, we have this connector at the back in there where we can now connect with pipe, and we can now connect with a pipe and then direct that in there for us as well. We can direct that pipe to probably anywhere that we want. If I should head it into any of the elevation views in there, you notice we have that in here. All right, so we have this in there for MEP. That is, if you are creating for MEP designs in there, you would definitely want to do with the MEP fixtures. All right, but since it's an architectural template, you can go into the architectural template and then you can load in all of those fixtures in there. So you guys can take your time and load in some fixtures into your template. All right, everything that you feel is going to work for you. I have a whole lot. I tend to have let me just get into where my template is. I tend to have a whole lot of Revit families in there that I can load in. So I can just come in here, search my WCs in there, and then I can load in a whole lot of WCs. I have all of those WCs that I'm going to need in here. All right, and I also have urinals for that as well. If I should head into the 3D view, you're going to notice I have all of these close couple WCs in there, and those things also sitting on top of them. All right, so I can load in all of the stuff I'm going to need. So if I need maybe a bed in there, since my template doesn't have any bed loaded up into the software, I can just click on any of these beds I feel is going to work for me inside of my template, and then I can just drag and drop them inside of my Revit template in there, and then I can use that in the future for any kind of project that I'll be working on. All right, so I have this Revit family template in there, and if you want to have my Revit library families or all of my families in there, as you can see, I have over 2,337 families. So if you want to get access to these families, you can send me an email. These are not only the families I have other ones also in separate folders in there, but I usually come in here to just use the basic ones, but the other folder has the much higher qualities in there. All right, so if you want to get access to my families, you can send me an email, and it's going to come at a fee though, and I'll do what to send you all of my families that I have in here. All right, so that was just by the way. So you can load up all of the families that you need inside of your project. Let's say even if it comes to vehicles in there, you can load in all of those cars and every single thing that you're going to need also in there. All right, so I'm going to put this away, and you guys can take a minute and load up all of the stuff that you need inside of your template. All right, so we are finally going to look at something which is the arrowheads. There are a lot of stuff we can look at. All right, we can even go in here and look at sheets. All right, so one thing you would also want to set up is your sheets. All right, so you can click in here on your sheets in there, and then you can create a new title block for your sheets. Maybe if your template in there, if you have your template in there, you would need to also create your own kind of title blocks that you'll be using. All right, your own type of sheets. So I can go into new in there, and you notice we have just A1 loaded up into our default template here, and you can actually work with the A1 if you are usually going to be printing on A1, or you're usually going to be saving all of your documents on A1. all right, if it's going to be A3, you need to load up A3 inside of your template. So I can go into load in here, and I can just go back a few folders, one more time, and then you can go straight into title blocks in there, and then you can find the A3 sheets. All right, this is that A3 right there, and then I can load that up inside of this template, and perfect. So you notice Revit is going to give us this default title block with all of these in there, with project names in there. So if you are the type that you are definitely not going to work with this. All right, maybe you are creating a template for a construction company, or you're working for a firm or an organization that you have your own logos and your own kind of way or style you guys design your title blocks. So you need to make sure you also do that for your title blocks on the sheets as well. All right, so you can just make sure you select this sheet, and then just double click in there to head into the family, and now it's in the edit mode in there, and you can now create or delete. Maybe you want your title block to be vertically placed in there. All right, you don't want it being horizontal this way, you want it vertical. So you can just delete all of this stuff in there, and DE out of there, and just select this DE, select this DE, and then you can start creating your title block also in there as well. All right, so you can go into create, and then you can click on line, and you can change this to wide lines, and we can start off. Let's say I'm going to leave about 70. 70 is too much. I'm going to do about 50. All right, 50 is cool. And then I can bring this down here, and I can delete this. I'm going to change this line to medium lines because it seems way too bigger than this. All right, so this and this is perfect. All right, so you can start off by designing. I'm going to delete this line out of there, and you can start off by designing your own kind of title block if you want. You can go in here, and then you can design all of your title blocks that you need. All right, I'm going to use thin lines this time, and maybe if you want to have a much more thinner layer in there, you can come in here, and then you can draw this to also come all the way down here. All right, so you can start off by designing your own kind of title block. I do not know the kind of title block that you guys usually use in there, so you need to make sure you also set up your own kind of title blocks on your sheets and design your own kind of title block in there. So I'm going to finish this, but this is not going to be the final title block design I'm going to have. Of course, you would want to have your company's logo in there. You would want to have the sheet title, the sheet name, drawn by, checked by, scale, date, and all of that stuff in there. Right, so I'm just leaving this as it is because this is just a tutorial, so you guys can go ahead and then create your own kind of title block and customize your own kind of sheet also in there. All right, so I'm going to click on no in there for this, and I have this loaded up in there for the sheets. All right, so now I'm going to go back into level 1, and we are going to talk about, I'm going to head into manage, and we are going to talk about get into additional settings, and we are going to talk about the arrowheads. All right, so now this with the core tags, the elevation tags, the section tags, and then the arrowheads. All right, so sometimes you're going to want to customize all of this stuff in there for yourself. All right, so with the arrowheads, I tend to usually customize the field dot. I usually customize the field dot 1. Let me just open this. All right, so I tend to usually customize the field dot ones. All right, so this is how you can actually customize your arrowheads inside of Revit. All right, so you need to make sure you go into the manage tab, click on additional settings, and then you can head straight into the arrowheads. Click on arrowheads, and this is perfect. So what you'd want to do is you need to make sure with the type you can select the particular type of arrowheads. So these are the several types that Revit is going to offer you by default. So we have the arrowhead field 15 degrees, 20 degrees, 30 degrees. So this is much bigger than all of them. All right, so you're going to have the field dot 3 mm also in there, and you can tend to customize all of these, or you can create a new one if you want. All right, so I'm going to start off with the field dot 3 mm, and you notice the arrow style is dot in there, which is perfect for me. You can change that to a loop or change that to diagonal if you want. I want the dot in there, and of course I want that dot to be filled. All right, so I would want that dot to be filled, and with the tick size, this is where the magic happens. So with the tick size, you can actually change that to 0.5 in there, and I think 0.5 is cool for me, so I can click on that. And let me head back into arrowheads, and let me just see that in there. So with the field dot 3 mm is set to 0.5. all right, so anytime you kind of like create a dimensions in there, you create those dimensions and probably measure anything. All right, so let me just try and bring in a wall. Let me bring in a simple wall, and let me just try and measure that wall right from here all the way to here in there. So this is 15.3 meters. I can click on this, get into edit type, and under my thick mark in there with a diagonal 3 mm, I can change that to the field dot 3 mm, which I've already set up in the arrowheads. Click on this, and this is what you're going to have. All right, so this is how you can actually set up all of this in there, and you can do the same for your dimension styles as well. So you can create your own kind of dimension style in there. So usually with me, with the dimension extension, I usually like to keep that at 0, and also with a witness line, I usually keep that at 0 as well. And with the witness line gap with element 1.5 is fine, but I can do 1 if I want. I can just do 1 in there. This is perfect. Hit on apply and see what I'm achieving currently. So this is what I usually do in there. So you can set the extension of the witness line to probably go out a little bit in there. You can set it to go out a little bit. I usually don't like mine to go out, usually, yeah. So you can set this up yourself by creating all of these stuff in there. So there are a whole lot of settings that you can probably set up for yourself, even when it comes to curtain walls, stairs, and all of that. All right, so you can go in there, set up the kind of stairs that you are usually going to use in there, and you can just save this in your template, and then you can use it in maybe subsequent projects or any kind of projects that you'll be working on. All right, so now I'm going to delete this out of there, and after all of this is being said and done, and you are done with probably everything in here and setting up everything, organizing everything, saving all the families that you're going to need inside of the software, now is the big part that you'd have to save your template. All right, so what you'd want to do now is you just click on Ctrl S to save this template in there, and you'd want to know the right place that you want to save it. All right, so you notice in here with the file name and the files of type is being saved as a Revit template. All right, it's being saved as a Revit template file. So I can go into options, and I'm going to change the backup to be just 1. All right, and you're going to notice we have this in here. Let me just cancel out of there. Let me show you guys another way on how you can save that. So you can go into file in there, and you can click on save as, and you can save as a template, and it's going to come in here. Or you can just hit on Ctrl S on your keyboard, and you're going to have this pop-up menu. So I'm going to change this to 1. I usually don't like the backup to be too much. All right, and then I'm going to save this as AA Alan Architectural template. All right, so I'm going to save this as Alan Architectural template in there, and this is perfect. So we have this saved as a Alan Architectural template, and where you're going to save this is very, very important. Sometimes you are usually going to want to save this in a folder and keep it somewhere. All right, you're going to keep it somewhere hidden or somewhere safe, somewhere you're not going to move it about or delete it in anytime soon. So for now, I'm going to keep it at the documents tab, because this is just a tutorial. If I was doing it personally for myself, I wouldn't keep it there. I'll keep it somewhere where I know I'm not going to see it or delete it in a way, or mistakenly delete it. All right, so I'm going to keep it somewhere in my documents. I'm going to keep it in the documents tab, and just click on save in there, and probably just wait a few seconds, and perfect. So this is saved in there. Now I'm going to delete all of this in there and head into this tab. All right, so I've now saved that template in there. All right, so if I should go into new in there and I come in here, you notice I don't have my template showing in here. All right, I would want my template to come in here, the Alan Architectural template I just created. I would want it to come in somewhere around here, so I can just come in here and then just click on that and then save that template in there for me. All right, so I'll have to save that template and bring it somewhere here, so I can also work with it anytime I need that template. I don't need to go into browse and actually now look for that template. So I'm going to cancel out of there, and what you need to do is you need to go into this home icon in here. So just click on that home icon there, and click on that home icon. Just click on the home icon, get into file, and when you click on that file icon there, get into options. All right, so after getting into options, what you need to do now is you need to navigate to file locations. Click on file locations, and you notice in here we have all of those templates that we saw showing up inside at the beginning. All right, so you can come in here and then you can add your template in there. So I saved that template on my desktop, which is this Alan Architectural template. I'm going to open it here, and it's now in here. All right, so I have my template in here, and I want that template to come all the way up. All right, I want it to move all the way, okay, just right at the top of the metric ones. Or I can send it all the way up. All right, you can send it all the way up to the top. Okay, so this is perfect. It's now saved at the top in there. So now my template is saved in there. I can click on OK, and I can get back into my icon in there. I can just click back on that icon right there, and now if I should get into new in there, you're going to notice with the template file, now anytime I'm going to open Revit app, I'm going to be having my AA template in there for me. All right, my Alan architectural template in there for me, which is perfect. So now I don't need to struggle to now go into the browse, so I can quickly just click on this, and I know it's a project. It's no longer a project template I'm creating, and perfect. So I have this in here. So if I should go even into my sheets, and I can load up all of my sheets that I created, all right, the title blocks you created, all right, and then you're going to have all of those families that you also loaded up into your software, which is kind of cool. All right, so this is how you can actually create a project template in Revit, and how you can save that project template inside of the Revit software. All right, it's been an amazing journey in this series, and I hope you guys have learned something. If you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed yet, just make sure you subscribe to my channel, and it's probably not going to cost you anything. So just make sure you hit on the subscribe button in there, and I appreciate that a lot. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next part or the next series on YouTube. All right, so you can drop a comment in the comment section if you have anything that you want to add to this video, and I'll do well to respond to each and every one of you guys out there. All right, so I'll catch you guys in the next series. All right, peace out.
I'm still working real hard on a Saturday. My future I don't see from a mile away.